the man himself. Welcome, welcome to our lovely guests. Obviously, I'm Abs of October Red, and I'm joined by former fighter, now coach, Shaun George. What an absolute pleasure to have you on the channel.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
A moment that I've been waiting for. I met you at Joyce, well, Zhang Joyce too.
Yes,
Um, and I've been trying to get hold of you from then, but we finally made it happen. Here we are.
yes.
So a massive welcome to you. But Shaun, I've got to go back because I didn't realize it was a ex-fighter, Spencer Oliver, that works for Talksport. He
hmm
said, "Get that guy on your channel. Do you not know who he is?
Mm.
He forced a heavyweight that came down in
To light
weight
heavyweight.
into
hmm
practical retirement. You've got to get him on. He's got an interesting story. But I saw you that day and you were literally run out flat.
hmm Yeah, yeah. I used to box. I used to compete. I've been in the sport for 33 years, since I was 11 years old. Amateur. Went through the whole amateur program, New York City, nationals, a few international fights as amateur. Um, what else? What else is there? Professional. I won two titles at cruiserweight. The IBC Americas and the NABA Cruiserweight title. I was ranked number five as light heavyweight WBC. That's where I had my biggest win there with Pittsburgh. So it was a lot of things. It was a yeah. I had a decent professional career, I should say. You know?
Spanning over 9 years and a Brooklyn native. I remember you shouting out after what you did to your opponent in that fight. I think his shoulder was dislocated. I remember you literally repping for Brooklyn.
Yes, yes. That's where we come from. I'm from that gym. The era of Riddick Bowe, the era of Mark Breland. I used to spar with Mark Breland when I was a kid. He used to beat me up all the time. Um, but yeah, I've been around. I've been around the block. I've been doing this for a long time. It's been
You
fun.
transition into coaching then, Shaun. What made you decide to say, you know what, coaching?
Coaching you got to always look for the next level, the next step. I got out of boxing because of the politics. I felt that I was number five in the world, and I should be fighting the best fighters in the world. And there was so much politics going on behind the scenes, then I wasn't really training as hard. My body was giving out on me injuries, asthma, shoulder injuries, hand injuries. So I just stepped away from the sport before I got seriously hurt. That was my thing. So my manager at the time, Lou Duva, he was like, "So what are you going to do?" Right? And I shrugged it off, like, I don't know, chill out for a couple of years and then figure it out. And he was like, "No, BS. I got this thing in China for you. Come down to New York City, and we talk some more." It was a USA versus China dual meet. And I was just like, all right, China, all right. Let's see what's going on there. And then a few Chinese fighters came out, and then Zhilei walked out. That's how I first met Zhilei, actually. And they invited me to work with China for a while for the amateur team. And that's where got my coaching experience from. When coaching internationally, they just threw me in there with the national Chinese team. I started coaching them internationally, and so it went from there 8 years later. So it's been pretty good.
So what was it like when you first met Zilly as obviously an amateur? What was
Mhm.
that encounter like? Because I didn't realize you'd known him for such a long time.
Yes. My very first, like, we met in the Poconos in Fernwood. The national team, they invited me down to their training session in a training camp. Um, we did that. His coach at the time gave me the pads and said, give him pad work. So I was showing him a couple of things, how to throw. He was showing me, I said double jab. He threw a double jab. He threw the 1-2. Then I smacked him upside his head. And then he looked at me. So I said, okay, 1-2 again. Smacked him upside his head again. So he was like, oh, okay. This is different. He never had pad work like that. So, and then we started learning different things. And he liked my chemistry. He closed up the chemistry, so they invited me back to China for the Asian Games to get him ready for the Asian Games, and that's how it started in 2010, actually. Yeah,
So you really know him properly, as
that's
not
my
just
little
as a fighter, as a person.
that's my little big brother. My seriously, when I say that, like we're very close with each other. Um, he speaks up. It's like when we have conversation, our chemistry is great. So I know who he is as a person, as a man, as a fighter, and he knows me the same way. Like he's over my house on the weekends. He's over my house on the holiday weekends. Like there's a lot. There's chemistry there.
Training him, I listened to, and I've got to shout out an interview of Ra Holcomb. He spoke to
Mhm.
you after Joyce's your first defeat, when you defeated Joyce the first time round, and he spoke about how you developed him, how you developed his style. I remember you just said there 1-2, and then you was getting him back, obviously teaching him you got to defend
Yes.
yourself. It's not just about hitting
Yeah.
the pads. His
Yes.
receptiveness, because you mentioned there that he can go against anyone. He's got incredibly high IQ. Talk to us about building that on from him, from his amateur to his professional career.
It was a process. Like we training with anybody else, you got to build chemistry between the fighter and the coach. Um, it takes time. It never happens overnight. Um, you have a lot of fighters and coaches, they think it's going to happen in 1 month or 2 months. It's not the case. It's really a process when it comes down to things. Um, Technique is always important for me. You know, just because you can punch doesn't mean you could win a fight. Just because you have fast hands, just because you're athletic doesn't mean you can actually translate that into the boxing ring. And that's why a lot of fighters are understanding that it takes literally hard work and dedication in the gym. Zhilei didn't know how to hit the heavy bag properly. He didn't know how to do pad work. He did not. There's a lot of things that he just did not know how to do. You know, but he's a student. He sat down. He listened. He asked questions. We watched video and repeat. And it was a whole process to this whole thing, and then it just started coming along slowly but surely. So by the time we got to 2017, he turned pro 2014, right? When I got back with him in 2017, you know, everything just built up. Everything was like, okay, we know each other. This is what we need to do. Um, a lot of video study, a lot of training, and Zhilei is. I really like. A lot of a lot of coaches talk up their fighters, right? And say, "Oh, he'll fight anybody," and then next, they turn away, go somewhere else. We're not doing that. We will fight anybody in the world, right? I just believe right now it's Jalay time. What I mean? He put in a lot of hard work. I believe that we beat Herkovich. Herkovich is not an easy fight. Herkovich is not. He's a difficult fight for anybody. So you would never hear me disrespect Filip Herkovich as a fighter because up until that point, nobody wanted to fight him. Remember, in order for us to get that fight, he had to go down a whole list of people that turned him down,
No way.
to get the Hercules fight because he was the mandatory to fight for the number one position for the IBF, right? If you could, and Zhilei at that moment in time, he was ranked 13 by the IBF. So they went down a whole list of fighters. None of these guys wanted to fight him. All these names did not want to fight Filip Herkovich, right? We go in there, we did what we did, and I really believe we won this fight. Um, But and then he been mandatory for 2 years. That's crazy too when you really think about it. That fight happened 2 years ago. But yeah, but then we did Joe Joyce. And then Joe Joyce, we beat Joe twice. So we on to the next now. And hopefully in Saudi Arabia, March 9th against Deontay Wilder. Or whoever it's going to be, Joe Parker. One of the two.
Very interesting that you mentioned about the Filip Hergovich fight. That is the fight where I knew who he was, but that was the
Hmm.
fight where he stood out to me the most.
Yes.
And I do agree. I do believe that he won that fight. That was a real war between
Hmm.
two fighters. But I did say, I do believe that Zhang won that fight. It's interesting that he was so far down the list because obviously that is something that I wouldn't have known. I just saw a good
Yes.
fight.
Hmm.
So all of these people saying no, because Filip Hrgovic did have a bit of a reputation as a bogeyman. He was an
Hmm.
avoided fighter.
Hmm.
But to go down all the way down to 13, that is saying something.
Yeah, but we called Herkovich out even before that fight, even before he was mandatory. We was signed to Matchroom, Eddie Hearns. We was calling out Fila Herkovich. We called out Joe Joyce. If you go on Zhilei's Instagram, he was even trying to like goat Joe Joyce to come in like to fight. But I think before Kristen Hammer, right? But it was one of those fights where you look and you're like, damn, Zhilei wanted to fight all these contenders back then. The promoters wasn't giving us the fights. I don't know why. Maybe they protecting. We wanted to fight the Dylan Whites when it was hot. We wanted to fight the Derek Chisora, Derek. What's his name? What's
Yeah,
the guy
Chisora?
that fought? It's Chisora, yes. Um, all these guys all these guys was turning us down. All these guys say, "Oh no, we're going to go somewhere else. We're going to take another route." Promote you before we was even calling out Anthony Joshua because that's the fight we always wanted since Joshua beat us in 2012 in the Olympic Games. We always wanted to fight. We always wanted to get back. It's a respect thing, you know. I don't disrespect any fighter at all, but that's just what it is.
It's interesting because I guess we're in the industry now where yourself as coaches, you're kind of like pushed to the forefront. I remember you spoke and
Yeah.
said you're not really into the media conversations. You'd rather just, let your fighter get on with it. But you know the
Hmm.
sport really well. I mean, I spoke to Buddy McGirt the other day, and he's somebody that had like 80 professional fights. He gets it,
Hmm.
and he takes a step back. He's in the background, and he lets his fighter do the talking. But what stood out to me about you was that Zhang Joyce too at the press conference is when you went for Joe Joyce and you attacked him like his credibility, his nerves, all of that. You just went straight for the neck. And I remember standing at the edge just thinking, this guy is not playing about.
Yeah. I'm I could be aggressive, and so a lot of times this is me being calm now. When I'm in a, but I feel like a lot of times people attack Jalay unfairly, you know, or they watch him, he's slow. He's really not that slow. You're listening to what other people are saying, and then you're repeating, and it gets frustrating. You know, so a lot of times one person will say something, and then somebody else will repeat it, and then another person will repeat it, and they keep going that way, and that's narrative, right? That's to me, that's like the Eddie Hearn narrative, right? The loudest person in the room is always right. So I get aggressive sometimes, and I could, that's the fighter in me. So if I think that you don't know shit about boxing, I let you know you don't know shit about boxing. If I'm like I could be very my team they don't like that when I'm that aggressive. So I'm like, all right, let me chill out. I relax and keep quiet, say to the back sometimes.
No, but I liked it because it's like the fighter that you were, because I've watched a few of your fights. You smell
Hmm.
blood and you're going straight in for the attack. And that is what I
Hmm.
saw at the press conference. It was like that fighter came back, that was the
Yeah.
fighter's voice. Like it was almost
Yeah.
like you were the fighter at the top table. But I love that. And that's the energy that drew me to you. I was like, I've got to
Yeah.
speak to him. We love that because
Yeah.
sometimes fighters won't necessarily stick up for themselves like that. So
Hmm.
they do need someone like yourself that will say, hold on a minute, let me put
All
you
right.
straight.
Yeah. Forget the politics. When it comes down to it, we're in a fight game. You say you're the best, then you going against Zhilei. Let Zhilei show you that he's the best fighter in the world. Let me tell you. Let me show you why Zhilei is the best fighter in the world. Let Zhilei tell you, like, okay, you think you're bigger than me? You think you're faster than me? You think you have more skill than me? This is why you're not. But I'm telling you right now, your guys. The Tyson Furies, the Anthony Joshuas, they want no part of John Zhilei. They don't want any part of him. I know this for absolute fact. They will say one thing and then say, okay, he doesn't make enough money, or let's do it in China, right? Or something. Listen, it could happen anywhere. You understand what I'm saying? The money is there for the fight. They just don't want to fight this guy for a reason, And Francis Ngannou actually exposed Tyson Fury. When it comes down to okay, what you need to do to beat Tyson Fury. Something that I always know how to beat. It's just it's just one of those situations where Zhilei I know could beat these top guys, and I want people to see what I see.
When you're
That's
sat
what
at
it is.
home and Zilly, obviously, I remember there was some suggestion, obviously, with Frank Warren now, that Zilly had a slight injury and he needed to recover because he's a fighter that we was looking forward to seeing back out again. So you're sat at home, and we can go first to the Ngannou fight with Tyson Fury. You both of you were studious, both of you watched tape. When you watched
Mhm.
that fight, talk to me a little bit about the method that you saw Ngannou do, why you say that he exposed or he gave us a bit of a blueprint on how to beat Tyson Fury.
I'm not gonna go into the details, but
Okay.
however, I will say that everyone when you talk about Tyson Fury, his narrative when you talk about Tyson Fury is that he's 6'8", 6'9". He has a long reach. He's a big man. He can box. He could fight orthodox. He could fight southpaw. Everybody's always worried about what Tyson Fury is going to do. Everyone. Yeah, and yes, he's everything that everybody says he is. He's a master boxer. I'm not disrespecting him, but there's a lot of holes in his um in his armor. A lot. There's a lot of ways you can deal with it. One, we do know that Tyson Fury is a dirty fighter. If you don't know it, then just look at his fights. You see a lot of dirty stuff. I'm not saying talk about his gloves. I'm talking about the headbutts. I'm talking about the elbows. I'm talking about the pushing the lace into people. I'm talking about all these kind of things. Nagano wasn't having all that. When you watch the Nagano fight, say, man, I'm an MMA fighter. I get elbows to the face all the time. I get all these. He wasn't affected by any of those kind of stuff. So you have to have tunnel vision when you're dealing with Tyson Fury and expect him to do rough things, expect him to get away with certain things when you're going into the ring with him. Those are facts. And Nagano exposed that part about Tyson Fury, among other things, which I'm not going to talk about, what made him uncomfortable. Um, Tyson Fury now has another tough fight in front of him, a different look, I should say. How that happens, how it's going to play out, I don't know. I'm just going to enjoy the fight, and because Usyk is a very masterful boxer. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. You know.
Usyk's style is to captivate the eyes with movement and
Hmm.
feints.
Hmm.
He brings that, in my opinion. I mean, what do I know? But he brings that amateur style, styled up to
Hmm.
professionally score those points. He's constantly moving, constantly jabbing, up, down, feinting, and
But he's a
he
good
dazzles
puncher
his
too,
oppo-
though.
and he
He is a
dazzles his
decent puncher.
opponents. Yeah,
Yes,
well,
he
Tony
dazzles
Bellew can tell you
opponents.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, yeah, I remember that fight. But he's a really good puncher. I'm not saying he's the most powerful puncher, but those are the type of
Timing.
punches that actually that's timing and sneaky, so you don't see it coming. His awkwardness, it punch comes out of nowhere. So those are the type of punches that actually hurt Tyson Fury, the punches that he doesn't see. And when Steve Cunningham put him down with the right hand, he didn't see it coming. It just came out of nowhere. His head was on one side, the right hand came out of nowhere. You know, um, so this fight is going to be interesting, in my opinion. Um, the Gano Joshua fight is going to be another interesting fight
Talk to
because
me.
I know what everyone is thinking, right? And I'm thinking like okay, this is my fighter in me now. That you want. Like,
That's the one I want to talk to.
Joshua acts like a fighter. He's an actor. Everything he does, look at it, look at his mannerism, look at everything when you look at it right now, he's acting like a fighter. Everybody want to talk about how great he looked against Otto Wallen. He sparred with Otto Wallen before. They fought each other before. He knew who Otto Wallen is. He knows who he is, right? Listen, Anthony Joshua acts like a fighter. When he's looking around, he's got this whole demeanor where he's just like serious and he's acting like a fighter. You look at Ngannou when he speaks, when he's looking at you, he look like a predator. He look like he just want all the smoke. He's not worried about any. He's not worried about. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the bright lights. This is a fight where Joshua gets stopped in the middle rounds. I'm telling you, this is the fight. That's my prediction with this fight. After watching him with Tyson Fury, in my opinion, Josh didn't look any better than against Otto Wild and anything else. Joshua going to get stopped. He's not ready for that smoke mentally. I know he got a new trainer in Ben Davison, which I respect a lot. He's a good coach. He knows what he's talking about. He deserved everything. This is my opinion. I think Joshua acts like a fighter, and you can look at his mannerism. You could check it out. I've been watching Joshua since Azerbaijan in the World Championships, where he snuck up on everybody and almost knocked out Camarelli in the World Championships as an amateur. I've been watching him since then, and I've been impressed with him up until when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, and then his career, everything that he's been doing. And then you notice a slight change in certain things, especially after the Andy Ruiz fight. This fight is not what everybody thinks it's going to be. He's not ready for it. He's not ready for this fight right here. He thinks he will. He thinks that his power going to be enough. He thinks that jab is going to be enough. He thinks he's going to catch Ngannou with that right uppercut or that right hand, whatever punch he's going to do. Because he could punch with both hands. I get it. Joshua is always dangerous. I'm not saying he's not dangerous. I'm not saying he can't fight. I'm saying one is a hunter and one is a hunted. One is an apex predator. One is just like I'm acting like I'm an apex predator. I'm going to stand straight up. I don't talk. I don't say the right things. Right now, I see in your head, you're thinking to yourself like, mm,
You know what it no, you know what it is. You're a fighter. I'm an observer, and I will never
mhm,
question a fighter's opinion on another fighter.
mhm.
And but you've sort of
What
covered
do you
it
think
there. You
though?
said, well, you've. I'm going through the timeline of what you've said, and you said you followed him
Yes.
practically all the way through his amateur career, and then
No,
you'd
like,
say, oh,
I haven't seen
well,
when he fought in England. I fought like Azerbaijan in the World Championships in
yeah.
2011,
So
right? I,
before he won his gold,
before he won his gold, that was the World Championships. That's when I
yeah,
think that's when he qualified to go to the Olympic Games.
yep,
I think he lost to Kazakhstan, Ivan, the guy from Kazakhstan, in the
okay.
finals in that tournament. But that's when he qualified to go to Olympics in that tournament. He came out of nowhere, right? He dropped the Olympic gold medalist in 2008. He came out of nowhere. Like he was impressive. It was like, oh, where does and he only had something like 20 something fights, 22, 23 fights, and he was doing this as an amateur. It was very impressive. Like I'm telling you, it was very impressive. Um, he had that look. He had that like, okay, I'm here for all of it. You know, um, he doesn't have that look anymore. It look like
That
he looked like he's trying to exit out. Go ahead.
that's what I mean. It's like where's that switch? Where's the change, and what causes a fighter to change? And this is you telling me as a fighter. I need
Hmm.
that to. You're not the only person that said it, and that is why
Hmm.
I'm interested to hear where and why and how does that happen to a fighter when they. You said it
It
is
could be,
acting.
yeah, he's acting. Um, there could be, and this is just my opinion,
No,
right?
I need it.
It Yeah. So when you have like when you get hit a certain way,
All right.
and when you were dominating, when you go and then it's like you don't want to get hit like that anymore. This is why some fighters they just say, nope, I don't want to box anymore. You know, but he has the weight of the world, excuse me, the weight of the country, his country, on his shoulder. You know, everybody supports him. They want to see him do well. He's one of those guys when he walks in a room, he lights up the room. You know, so he's trying to change from that right now. But ever since he fought Andy Ruiz the first time in Madison Square Garden, you see the phases to like, okay, so when you get on the inside, I want to grab and hold. So when I get on the inside, I don't want no part of this, right? I want to jump up on the outside. He went to that Vladimir Klitschko method of fighting, you know. But he's questioning himself even now when he go into a dark room for a week. I'm not laughing at that. He's trying to find himself. He's doing everything to better himself. But at the same time, you still see him like I watched him his last fight the week of. He's just sitting there. He's just acting. Like they say, like he just like try to be an alpha male, pick your chest up. You know what I mean? Don't say it's too much. Like some people don't want to talk to. You know what I mean? He tried to, yeah, I'm here for my business. But he knew who he had in front of him. This is the guy that he had in front of him was a former sparring partner of his. The guy that he had in front of him was a former competitor of his that he know what he can do. That he know he could let he that he know that he could land his right hand at will. That he could land that right uppercut at will. It was a confident booster. And not everybody want to talk about, oh, he's back. This is the old Joshua. No, this is not the old Joshua. He knew who he had in front of him. It was a safe bet. That's a Floyd Mayweather method at one point where, okay, I'm going to spar all these people, and then I won't pick my opponent out. This is not a shot at it, but like mostly a lot of these fighters nowadays, they spar their opponent, right? Learn, videotape. Okay, I want to fight this guy next, or I won't fight this guy down the line. You know, that's the method they're using. None of those guys ever spar with Zhilei. So hence, nobody want to fight Zhilei. You understand? Not Deontay Wilder, not Tyson Fury, not Anthony Joshua, right? None of them. I'm not Usyk. I don't know what's going on with Usyk. I think he's about that life. I think he will fight anybody like when it comes down to those kind of things. But like the method of those guys, they spar these sparring partners, and then they fight them later on. They get all the information they can. Okay, I could get him with this. He won't land this shot. I could do this. This is what's going to happen. Whatever, and they feel comfortable when they get into the ring with those guys. Tell me online.
But you just kind of like broke it down. I can't tell you that you're lying. It's an interesting concept because I'm not one of these that's ever been um, or concentrated on the mental state of
Yeah.
unless somebody looks like they're absolutely crapping it. But I
Hmm.
usually because the thing is with Anthony
You like to
Joshua,
enjoy the fight.
nah, I don't. Yeah, but I think he
Hmm.
gets analyzed a lot. Like however he walks, however he talks, we kind of like micromanage him compared
Hmm.
to like any other fighter. He gets a lot of eyes on him, so I sort of like dismiss that. But when you break it down into the common sense way, which you have just done, then it's like, okay, well, that actually does make sense in what you're
Hmm.
saying. And that I won't argue with. But let me say hello to the chat because we've got people that are watching. Um,
Okay.
Muller, big up to yourself. Thanks for joining. Dan, good evening. Hey, people. Red and Shaun. Zhang so much more comfortable after his medical issue. Great stuff, by the way. And Wilder is not taking that fight. And that is something we're going to get onto. Good comment, Fish.
Okay.
If AJ loses to a 0-1 boxer, heavyweight boxing itself, he might as well just retire.
Nah.
Um, Bernard has kindly donated £2 British. Interesting, differing opinion from Mr. George. And Bernard, that's why I wanted Shaun on here because he's been in the game for a very long time. And it's always interesting to speak to former fighters that turn to coaches and now he's building. We could possibly call Zhang another a heavyweight Bogeyman, Karma Serene.
Boogeyman. Nah, just a chant.
Well, you mentioned possibly fighting on, I think it's Friday, March the 8th, because of Ramadan.
Hmm. Yes.
Zhang is now in the Saudi mix, which I've been DMing you saying he needs to get out there. We
Yes.
need to see Zhang on those cards, and it looks like it's happening. Deontay Wilder, before we talk about Zhang possibly fighting him, talk to me about Deontay Wilder's last performances and your thoughts on that. Because I think it's a
Um,
dangerous fight for Wilder to go against Zhang after Parker, but
I think he was trying something new. You know, it was disappointing watching him fight, and I was like, "What?" I'm a Deontay Wilder fan because he's exciting knockouts, explosiveness. I've been around both coaches, Mark Breland, I told you earlier, right? I used to spar with him. I grew up with him. Me and Malik Scott used to went to school together in Northern Michigan University. Um, but I just think that he had a bad night, man. Like Parker is a talented boxer as well. So let's not underestimate Joseph Parker and who he is. I just think that Deontay was tentative in this fight, and I think going into his next fight, he's definitely going to be more aggressive. People are questioning if he was trying to be a boxer because he caught Hellenius doing the same exact thing. So he went in there thinking that okay, I could do this. I caught Hellenius with this. I'm fast. People don't realize how athletic Deontay Wilder is. He's tall, he's lanky, he's skinny, 213 pounds, a little bit light, but um, he was trying to catch. He was hoping that Parker would jump in, and Andy Lee and Parker had a different game plan. They took his time. They took their time. They worked. They was waiting. They was trying to counter his right hand, and he took over. But I think Rodgers it was a bad strategy altogether. And I think going into this next fight, whenever or whoever he fight, hopefully it's Zhilei, he's going to be more aggressive. He's still going to try to box more, but he was missing his jab. He didn't throw a jab at all, which I'm surprised about. He didn't throw his hook at all. He didn't do a lot of different things in there. Um, it's just a bad strategy, or he was hoping it took just one shot to get Parker out of there, which that's what he depended on in every other fight. He always says it only takes one punch for him, 1 second, and didn't work out in his favor. But he's still a dangerous opponent. He still has a right hand. It was just a horrible strategy going in on his part. He shouldn't have made those adjustments because I did hear his coach tell him you got to be more aggressive, but he chose not to. So that could be another thing too. Um, maybe he mentally checked out. Is all everything's kumbaya now?
I
Like
said
when it
that.
comes down to it, or is it like what? I want to be a boxing. It could be so many different things. I'm just going to say that he had the wrong game plan because at the end of the fight, I think 11th or 12th round, he got more aggressive, right? And that he tried, but it was too late, a little too late when he actually tried to do it. You know, so we'll see what happens.
Do you think that, and both of these gentlemen, so obviously this is just a objective opinion. Do you think that Malik is a good coach for Wilder? Because I know he was with Mark Breland for a while. Then we had Poison Gate and Glove Gate and everything that came with the Tyson Fury trilogy, as it were. Deontay Wilder, we know what he can do. Like you said, he's athletic, he's explosive. He does afford to lose rounds because he knows he's got the equalizer. He's got the one
Hmm.
that he can lose all 10 rounds and in the 11th knock you out if he wants. However, it's clear that Parker, and the way I saw it, Parker and his team studied him because every time he tried to throw that backhand, Parker would dip. He was dipping, so he couldn't land it. He was nullifying it, like he said. He was parrying down his other hands and forcing Wilder back into a corner. Which, if you look at what Tyson Fury did when Tyson Fury was getting the better of him, he was beating him, in the corner. And we saw a similar
Mhm.
strategy, a more clever strategy, because it was nicer to watch. It was more easy
Mhm.
on the eye. But I'm not sure if Wilder can make the adjustments to be able to change that, or to have that boxing IQ to say, all right, if I miss that if right hand and it doesn't land, what am I going to do next? You talk about IQ, you talk about forward thinking. Can he do that? Or is he just going to continuously revert to type? And that's what I'm saying. Both him and Malik, is that really a good match? Especially if he's going in with someone like you next?
Mhm. Malik is in my opinion, a great coach. Um, I think everybody underestimated Joseph Parker because the last time most people seen him fight was when he
Joe
fought Joe
Joyce.
Joyce, and Joyce walked him down and ended up
Mm,
stopping him in the 11th round, right? So
mm.
that's what everybody had in their mind. Everybody just disrespected Joe Parker, not realizing that okay, Joseph Parker is like 30 years old, 31 years old, still young. You understand? Like, and then he had like three fights in between to get himself back together, to get his confidence up, and those things. I think they underestimated Joseph Parker. I really
Dangerous.
do. Like, yeah, yeah, but that's the fault of just about every fighter except for Floyd Mayweather in the history of the sport has done. No, like when you really think about it, they underestimate the opponent. They don't train as hard. They read, they press. Um, they stop learning. They 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 get lackadaisical in training. They show up late to training camps, and like most of these fighters, they because they start to read they press. And then in this generation with social media, where you have everybody praising them and their fans is like, "Oh, we love you," and they gram like, "Yeah, I'm that guy." So they start putting in the work, and that's what I think happened with Deontay Wilder. Personally, that's what I think what happened. I still think he's a dangerous fighter. I just think that Zhilei is that dude. Like we studied these guys for years. The issue is that all those guys that's in front that we're talking about right now, we sat down and we studied them. What would you do if he did this? Did you see the Wilder fight last week? And we talk about it, go back and forth. Our gym talks. Yo, what? Let me see that tape. What we study. Like I can't tell you how much we study. That's the other thing going back to Joshua too though. Ben Davison, he does a lot as well. That's why you never underestimate coaches and what they can do for a fighter. Because for everything I've heard about him, he loves video study. He loves to he's a coach that you have to respect. That could be the difference maker with Joshua right now. When it comes down to those kind of things, him and Jameson is different, but the same at the same time. So I can understand why he went back to Ben Davison, but that could be a different maker. But I just don't think he has heart for this art of war anymore. Personally, when it comes to Anthony Joshua.
With like the trainer hopping, how many trainers did you have in your career? Because that's something you've been with Zhang from the beginning. Okay,
Yes.
that's
Hmm.
solid. In your career, how many trainers did you have? Because I always get nervous when I hear that people change trainers, because
Hmm.
you've mentioned those bonds are really important. You need to gel with your fighter, get to know them, understand them. And you can't
Hmm.
do that in a matter of months or weeks. It takes
Yeah,
time. So, how
it
many
takes
trainers
time.
did you have?
I was an amateur. I started from amateur. It's been a lot. For me because like I was learning from different people, different things. But I had a few main. I had Reginald Ford, Clarence Benyard, Al Mitchell as my amateur coaches.
Right.
But I learned from my uncle Lennox Blackmore. He fought for the world title. He lost to Aaron Pryor. Um, he was number one in the world, and he lost to Aaron Pryor for the world championship fights. Um, Patrick Ford. Um, who else? Oh, Tommy Brooks, obviously. He was my coach as a professional. when I turned pro. Bobby Mouse, Don Turner. I learned from all these guys at some point in my career where I have, but when I'm say I'm learning, they show me different things. You always remember certain things that they tell you. Um, so I would say overall, my whole career as a boxer, amateur and pro, I probably had 17 different coaches, like altogether. Yes, I was, I can fight every style personally as a fighter. Meaning I could be aggressive, I could be a boxer, I could be fancy, I could be all right, a stand-up like that was my boxing style. But with me, it's just I had so many different injuries. It was very hard for me to overcome. And so I wasn't as successful as I should have been as a professional fighter.
But you pay it forward, and you pay it forward with, Zhang. So should that fight happen, they're sort of teasing. Is it definitely going to be Deontay Wilder? Because they're teasing it that it could be him, or they both could be on the card fighting other opponents. Is it like signed,
Our
sealed, and delivered?
contract, our side of the contract is already signed. So we waiting
Okay.
for Deontay Wilder. You know, so
Mm.
everyone's talking. Shelly Finkel, his manager, is talking. Um, but I'm not hearing from Deontay Wilder. So if I don't hear from Deontay Wilder, I'm going to assume that it's not going to happen. Um, but right, just sign the contract and make the fight happen. You know, you have a reputation not avoiding anybody, so don't avoid Zhilei. We want this fight. We want all smoke. We want Bomb Squad. Bring it. Let's go. Bomb Squad versus the Big Bang. That's a fight we want. That's a fight. That's a fight that the fight fans wants.
Well, if you read the social media, a lot of people are saying they don't want Wilder to take it. They're
Man,
worried. They're
but
worried for
why?
Wilder
Uh,
because we know what
then
we know
who's
what Zhang we know what Zhang's capable of. I guess um,
then who
it's
should
it's a
Zhilei
it's
fight?
well, that's going to be my next question. If Because
Yeah.
Wilder, like you said, he might not even get back. So if he
hmm
doesn't, who's he going to fight?
I don't know. There are a couple of names being mentioned. We would love a Joseph Parker fight. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it's different styles. Like it's just different styles. But we're number one in the world, right? WBO, we're number one. We have something to offer, right? I love saying that. I love
Yeah,
hearing it.
yeah,
But it's yeah, but we're number one, right? So, but we want to stay active. We want to fight, because who knows when we're going to fight for that world title? You have Tyson Fury, you have Tyson Fury versus Usyk, and then they have a rematch clause. God knows when they're going to happen. You think about it. Think about this one thing. Herkovich and Zhilei was fighting for the mandatory number one spot. That was in
oh my God, that was 2 years
2024,
ago.
2022,
Yeah,
August 2022.
yeah.
Think about that. He's still waiting for his title shot.
Oh
He's
dear
still
God.
waiting, sitting around fighting fighting, doing what? That's what sucks about this sport.
Do you
I
think the
mean, think
involve?
about it. So,
Do you think the
excuse me.
involvement with Saudi? Do you think the involvement with Saudi will kind of quell that because the money that's being paid speaks louder than the belt? So that waiting might get reduced significantly because the Saudis like, oh yeah, don't worry about that queue. We're going to make the fights happen anyway. So yes, there may not be the belt aspect to it, but the fights
Mhm.
will be there. Therefore, the rankings will
Yeah,
get pushed up. So things could happen quicker. I don't know.
I think they're doing great things. Saudi Arabia, they're doing great things for the sport of boxing. Like
Mm.
they trying to make fights that people want to see. They trying to make great fights. Um, they have the money for it, and they doing it, and they're going to make the great fights. But are they making the promoters lazy? That's the other thing about it. Like everybody going to wait around for Saudi Arabia. So are you going to put on these great fights? Because we want to fight. We want to stay active, and it looks like we're going to be fighting March 8th. So we're active. We're staying busy. Zhilei already in training camp. Um, we just doing what we do, staying ready. which we always do. Um, but yeah, man, we want to fight. We're not going to sit around and we're number one. We're the WBO interim title, and we're willing to fight. The craziest thing is like, why wouldn't you want to fight Zhilei? You know, like he has something to offer. You know, so why not?
When you look at fighters like Tyson, you've mentioned there about Anthony Joshua's kind of like how you see him as a person. You see through the facade and you see
Yeah.
what he is. So
Where'd he
when
go?
you, I'm
Okay,
still here.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
When you look at Tyson Fury, what do you see in him?
Tyson Fury is looking for the bag. He doesn't care about he doesn't care about the belts. He's looking for the fights that will give him the most money. I don't think I think they're at this stage, they competed and you know, they should fight who they want to fight, but at the same time you still should hold the integrity of the sport up and fight competition. For example, Ngannou, what did he do in the sport of boxing to get to fight Tyson Fury? We had all these other men that work up way up to the rankings to be number one by the WBC, and then all of a sudden, this guy come out of nowhere and he gets to fight Tyson Fury. Not the most people would say, "Oh, the money, take the money. That's 80 million. That's 100 million. That's 50 million. Whatever." And I get all of that, right? But where's the integrity in the sport? Like a lot of these fighters, it's not just Tyson Fury. There's a lot of fighters in other weight classes doing the same exact thing, right? Fight your number one. The fights I want to see Terrence Crawford fight Boots. That would be a great fight. But Boots doesn't have a big enough name, so Terrence Crawford is going to step aside. Like, nope, I don't want to fight him. I want to look for somebody to look for the bag when it comes down to it, you know. And he's going to do the same thing that everybody else did to him, but he was complaining about before.
Yep.
It sucks. It's just the integrity of the sport. And Tyson Fury, like he's a spokesman. He's everyone know who he is. You know, he's doing a good thing, trying to unify the titles now. But I don't think Tyson Fury want to fight certain people. That's what I really think. Like I don't think he's afraid, and I don't think t- too Anthony Joshua's afraid. I just think that I just happen to think that Anthony Joshua is acting like a fighter nowadays. You know what I mean? And I think he's going to get exposed by an apex predator in Nagano.
God.
I really do. I really do think he's going to get exposed just because of that. Because you think, oh, it was a fluke what he did to Tyson Fury, and that wasn't a fluke either. You know, like it's hard to do that. You know, but when you see it, did you seen the fight, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Tyson Fury Nagano, right?
Mm.
Tyson Fury gave that man an elbow,
Yep.
like
Saw
threw a
it.
right hand, gave him an elbow. Nagano didn't flinch. He didn't look to the referee. He was just like, okay. I mean that's different. I'm telling you, that's different. I don't know, but I'm going to pace. I'm going to watch the fight
Are you going
after
over?
Zhilei went in Saudi
Are you
Arabia.
going over to the February fight?
Oh no, I'm not going. No, I'm not going there. I'm going
Oh,
to
you'll
the
be in
March 8th.
camp.
Yeah, I'll be in
Yeah, you'll
camp for
be in
that one.
camp.
Yeah, I watch it on
Yeah, that
TV. You watching it live? Are you going live with it?
I'll be going live as I do. You'll have to try and
Are you,
jump on this time because you left me
I was
hanging
watching.
last time, didn't you?
Yes, I won't jump on with you. I promise. That was my
He
fault.
said this. He said this
I'm
last time.
avoiding. Listen. I'm not a fan of being on the media all the time and things
But
like
this
that.
is
But
just like this is two adults sitting down talking boxing.
yes,
That's all
yeah.
it is. I try not to be too serious about it. Hold on a minute. We've got Bernard has jumped back in. I thought Tommy Brooks trained Zhang after he left David Price.
I know. Tommy is my He's with me. No, he has
It's
not
part of the
trained.
team, right?
Yeah, he was me. Yeah.
So are we going to pretend that Zhang wasn't offered a Fury fight before Zhang Joyce 2? Oh, can you confirm or
That never
deny that?
happened. That never happened. I could confirm right now that never happened. We was talking about it. We was chasing that fight, and soon when we start to go to the media about we gonna get that fight, and then Bob Arum said, we trying to make the Tyson, not the, yeah, Tyson Fury Zhilei John fight. Joyce activated his rematch clause. It's like we knew we didn't have an opportunity to negotiate that fight. We wanted to fight, and we couldn't negotiate because we had to honor our agreement that we signed to fight Joe Joyce the first time around.
Mm,
The fight was
yeah.
never offered to us. It was never
Right.
offered. It was all
I,
talk. What Tyson does a lot. He deflects. He does that a lot. But yeah.
you saying that Tyson Fury is a gaslighter?
Oh, you don't think so? The hokey
I think
dokey. I masturbate 100 times a day. No, he doesn't. But people went with that. Like he does that all the time. He does things like this all the time. He show you this right here, but you're missing what's happening around here. And I don't know, he does something totally different. That's what he does. That's his MO. So for me, when it comes to Tyson Fury, I watch what he does and not listen to what he says. It's entertaining what he says, but I pay attention to what he actually does
to
and
be
do.
fair, that's a perfect rule for life. I never actually listen to what
Yeah.
people say. It's what they do that counts. I
Yes.
mean, we are looking forward to seeing like Zhang back out. The
Hmm.
Wilder fight will be good, but from the conversation that we've had, if Zhang goes up against Anthony Joshua, I'd be very, very interested to see that press conference with you there to see if you'd actually. Do you remember your team says, "Oh, just hold back a bit," or you
Hmm.
jump forward? I like press conferences. I'm one of these
Hmm.
people that love the trash talk at the top table. I like that
Yeah.
because it builds fights. Fights could have been
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I'm not interested in that." But when you see what happens at the top table, your ears prick up. You're like, hold on a minute, let's have a listen there. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see that. I think Wilder's different now. He's not really into that trash talk. Like you said, it's
Hmm.
possibly a kumbaya effect for a better word. But I really do hope that you're right with Wilder and it was a bad night. I'm struggling to comprehend that. I just think
Hmm.
maybe the Tyson Fury wins have took it out of him. Um,
It was. I agree with you. It's tough. It was hard fights, when it comes down to it. But I just think, not to cut you off, I just think that
no,
Deontay
no.
is going to watch that video. I probably watched it like 100 times already. I'm like,
Okay.
I can't do that again.
Is he
He's
that
gonna see
type
for
of guy
himself.
then?
He has to be. I never met Deontay. I know Malik Scott, and as a competitor, as a fighter, you watch yourself on video like, damn, I did that. And then you look at the last round, like I should have did that more. I should have been more proactive. I should have done. There's a lot of things that he should have done that he's going to say to himself, like, okay, I'll try to correct this my next fight against a bigger name than Joseph Parker, and try to come out with a big bang. Oh, I like that. It's kind of try to come out with a big bang when it comes, so you could get the Anthony Joshua fight or the Ngannou fight, or the winner of that fight next. So he got to make a statement if he wants to continue in the sport of boxing. He's gonna have to make a statement fight, and Zhilei is his best option at this point in time. We are willing and able, right? And if he wins that fight against Zhilei, which he won't, but if he wins that fight with Zhilei, then he gets the winner of Anthony Joshua and Nagano. You know,
Oh, is that the path?
no,
That's the path.
I'm saying that that's my opinion. I think that's the path.
Yeah.
Like I would say, like, okay, if we're fighting on the same card, like, or we beat Deontay Wilder and we still waiting, why not fight the winner of Joshua Nagano?
Makes
Like
sense for
that.
you, but I think they're trying to push Hergovich. I think they're trying to push Joshua Hergovich after Ngannou.
Hmm. Yeah, but Joshua's not getting past Nagano.
Oh my god.
I said it. I'll be the first one to say it. I'm not. I didn't get caught up in the hype. I know what I seen when I watched the Otto Wallen fight. I'm not getting caught up in the hype of everything else. That's a fight. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's a mistake made. But then again, not a mistake made when you got the bag, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been very interesting. You've highlighted a couple of things that I am literally going to go away and
Mm,
look at some stuff that I might have gone over my head. Guys, I want to say thank you very much
mm.
for watching, tuning in. Please follow Shaun George. It's SHAUN George 101 on Instagram. I believe he's on Twitter. Are you on Twitter as well? Oh, sorry,
I'm on
X, I
Twitter.
should say.
Yes. Yes.
So get
X.
over
Yes, I'm
there,
on.
follow the journey. If you want to see what Zhilei Zhang's up to, Shaun posts all of the, well, not all of it, posts some of the training. You see the drills. One of the things that I liked about Zhilei that I didn't notice before, I guess it's on a heavy bag, but he's got
Mhm.
quite fast hands. And I didn't notice that before. And his feet
Yeah.
look really tidy too. So there's stuff
Hmm.
on there that you might not necessarily see translate out in the fights yet,
Yeah.
but you'll get a nice snapshot into what he's doing in the gym. Shaun, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Listen,
We got to do it. We
February,
have to do. Yes.
this
Yes. I
you
will
what
be there.
you, bookmark this, save this because he won't turn up again.
Okay. No.
I'll be
Wow.
sat there, I'll be sat there on my own
Wow. No, I'll be
saying
here.
there's no Shaun. But yeah, I really appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you
So
for having
yeah,
me on.
no, thank you, guys. You know what it is. We stay ready.
Mm.
I'll just